Starting. And we are live. Hey guys and gals.
And we are live.
Let me turn this down.
Hey guys and gals. And we are live.
Let me turn this. All right. I don't know how. I gotta stop this video. Hold on. There we go. Now, sorry about that. Heard myself say we are live about 4 times.
Yeah, I believe they heard you out there.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure you guys know it. So there's me. Let me say hello, everyone. Let's throw a couple of exclamation points in there. All right, so let's see what we got. We got John, we got RMB, Dan H, James Smith. Hello, James. Jackie Bird wants to know what happened to Kansas. We asked him initially, and he was unavailable. He's got some other stuff going on. I know he's done some YouTube stuff, but I talked to him personally, and he's just got a lot going on, and he wasn't quite ready. And we wanted to take advantage of the Google Hangouts for the next, 7-8 days that it's remaining?
That's it.
Is that right?
August 1st, it goes away.
All right, so I don't see where it says how many folks we got watching.
We got 21 right now.
Let me see if I can find where that is so I can. All right, as long as you can see it and you can see it in real time. There we go. I see it. 21 watch. There it is. Okay.
Hey, RWP.
Yes, sir.
I was just making sure my screen was working here.
Yeah. Y'all, you guys are both there.
All right.
At least from my vantage point. Everybody out there, hello, Dangerous Freedom. Say hello to Alpha Charlie Concepts too. He's a guy I think you'll enjoy if you're not already checking him out.
Don't mind me, I'm just sitting in the corner over here.
That's right. We kind of try and keep him out of sight as much as possible.
With good reason.
But give us, okay, everything looks and sounds good. Conservative Brew, thank you. All right, 28 so far. We're trying to kind of hang out, ladies and gentlemen, to let some more people get joined in. The notification just went out. I know we all dropped some reminders, and then I only got the actual, I guess, real-time YouTube notification out 8 minutes prior to broadcasting. So sorry it was so late, but I'm technically incompetent. Okay, so. Thank goodness that that's one thing I won't have to worry about probably when the grid goes down is worrying about computers and how to navigate. So we'll be working more with mechanical items and hand tools and things. So little prepper joke for you guys to start the show. Thanks for being here, everybody. You already know by now that I'm joined here graciously and thankfully by my friends Zombie Farmer, you guys know, and Alpha Charlie Concepts, who I'm sure many of you on here do know, and those of you that don't, there he is. And so, hey, say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
All right, let's see. James Smith, yeah, he says that makes 2 of us, I guess, about the technically incompetent or, technologically incompetent. I know how to use these things. I use them every day. But when it gets to, I don't know, when you got to get into the setup stuff, well, you've had to walk me through it. So what we got I'm showing 34 people. What do you see?
Yep.
So what is today? Today's Tuesday. Barely, not even to the middle of the work week. How's yours gone so far, Zombie?
Been busy. Real busy.
Yeah. Like longer days and stuff like that?
Yeah, just a lot of routes. Hey, when I'm on here and I speak, does the screen change on y'all's end?
Yeah.
Okay, because it ain't on my end, ain't none of us changing, but I guess it's working okay then.
Yeah,
You're saying, go ahead. Sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
No, it's changing on my end. So
yeah, mine too. Like, are you talking about when? Wow, Liberty for All
Leroy. Hey, let me go ahead and make this announcement, y'all. This is on RWP's channel. Any funds that come through that people want to donate to his channel and keep them going, this will be toward his channel, not mine. So y'all help his channel out, help him grow. I appreciate that, but I'm going to donate that to RWP's cause here. So I just want to let y'all know.
Thank you kindly. Yes, I want y'all to know that too. It is on my channel, and since I'm the host, if you guys want to super chat like that, and I appreciate it so much, Liberty for All, whoever it was intended for, trust me, it'll all go to a good cause, okay? So, look here, Common Sense Makes Sense says, I paused Jag to watch this. I hope this is good.
Jag?
It's some show. I don't know.
That's back in the day, man. That's back in Walker, Texas Rangers.
Well, that's Common Sense Makes Sense. You know, he's a buddy of mine, and that's his funny. That's his funny sense of humor. Thank you there, Common Sense. I'll get him tomorrow. But anyway, yeah, guys, yeah, this is my channel, so anything like that would support me in this channel, and I appreciate it. I love that everybody that supports Zombie when he does these live streams and all that, I appreciate it. Speaking of all that, if you're those of you that are here because of Zombie or because of John at Alpha Charlie Concepts, thank you for being here on my channel. I would invite you to subscribe, to check out my content if you're not already familiar with it. I guess I'm technically the little guy in this, you know, within this trio, channel-wise, I suppose, which, you know, neither here nor there. But I also have a Patreon page. If anybody wants to support me there, it's $1. Kind of the same thing Zombie does. And so anyway, that's that. Let's see. We got 58 watching now. Let me look at some of these comments. I'm going to look at the comments. You guys go ahead and talk about it.
Well, the first question we got was about the New York City police officers. Country Prepper 19. I'm pretty sure you're talking about them throwing buckets of water on them. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about. I seen that earlier today, and that just shows you what kind of shape that the morals of this country is in. I think it's awful. But hey, my honest opinion is if I was the New York City Police Department, I would make a move with my feet and walk out and say the heck with it. That's what I would do. I think that's what you're talking about, but just to clarify that, if you want to bring it back up, you can. That's more than welcome. Also, RWP, we got somebody on here, I believe it needs to get off the channel. So
let me.
Yeah, there's one that could use a little time out there, but
yeah, put them in timeout, RWP.
Oh yeah, okay. So, how do I do that?
The little 3 dots.
I got you. I got it. I got
Click it, block them, and they'll get out of here.
All right.
Zombie, just to follow up on what you're saying there, I've got a very close, long-time friend that's NYPD, and I told him today, I said, you know, seems to me the best thing they could do for that situation, because there's more than just water. There was buckets and all kind of stuff being thrown.
I know. Yeah.
I told him, I said, in my unasked for 5 cents, pull all NYPD out of the area, cordon it off, lock it down, nobody leaves, and let them live with it.
Right.
If the place burns to the ground, it burns to the ground. Unfortunately, they can't do that, but there's some very unhappy sentiment up there right now about those events.
Crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff.
All right, I just dropped a comment to everybody. I did block that when I saw that. I'm glad you caught it because I hadn't. I mean, I'm trying to keep up here, guys. I apologize, but I said not going to tolerate the BS tonight. Tonight is real about Christ and how He is a constant in our lives, and really that's and that particular person. And I don't know if they're subbed or not, but they're around a whole lot. And, you know, so I appreciate them watching the content. And every once in a while, that person has said something that made some sense. You know what I mean? That wasn't complete nonsense. And one time even said that they agreed with a viewpoint of conservatives, which that person obviously is, is openly not. And so, but anyway, that's not what we're going to do tonight. We're not going to get into that garbage tonight. Tonight is going to be uplifting and going to be truthful. And so, yeah, we're not going to get into any of those little petty arguments tonight. There's plenty of time for pettiness. Trust me, there's plenty of people passing around pettiness. So we're not going to be about that tonight, guys.
Hey, speaking of watching, you might want to watch that one guy that just logged in the comments there. That Corsair dude. I've heard he can be a little bit.
Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and put him in timeout and watch him. Corsair, you hear that, brother?
Just preemptive.
Shadow Tracks, Jesus Christ, bless us with your presence tonight. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. So yeah, that's so look, I jotted down just a few things today, over the last few days, just things going on. Looks like we got about 68 watching, and I don't know, we're 12 minutes in. I tell you what, before I dive fully in, I do want to say this. Since we talked about Corsair, I'm going to drop something to you guys, and then and I apologize, but I got to jump for about 2 minutes here. I'm being beckoned, and I see what it is. It's help with the other end of something for my wife, who knows I'm doing this, but nonetheless, I'm going to go help. But leading into that, Corsair Trainers did a video the other day about, have we forgotten essentially about Venezuela? And so I was looking into that, and one thing I read today, and this is confirmed news from, various sources, whether or not you want to say it's fake or not or whatever, but, the Venezuela, the blackout, and of course there was another blackout that took place, I guess, in an area that had been restored or not affected to begin with. The communications minister of Venezuela called it an electromagnetic attack. Quote. That's what he said on their hydroelectric system. Y'all know anything about that or want to speak on that? Go ahead, and I will be right back.
Yeah, right. Supposedly, and I haven't caught the latest update on it, but this particular outage had most, if not all, of Caracas pretty much in the dark. Now, as far as the cause, that's a tough one to really put any kind of finger on, because as easily as it could be nefarious action, it could also just be sheer incompetence. I mean, we are talking about Venezuela after all. So it's not like you're talking about the best infrastructure in the world or maintenance of that infrastructure or anything like that. So that one could go either way. Regardless, either reason is still a bad reason. And you're talking about the main capital of Venezuela being in the dark. So that never leads to good things, even amongst the best of people.
That's right. I don't really know what to think of it, really. I almost think it's all manipulated. Like you said, their grid system ain't too good anyway, but it's hard to say anymore who's doing what and what's going on. I take my hat off to the people. I don't know.
You could probably just as easy manipulate that grid system by just going down there and catching a squirrel and throwing it up into the lines.
Right.
You'd probably have the same effect.
Right.
Hey, but socialism works. We just ain't done it right yet.
That's right. Let's see here. Kansas Prepper, how's it going, buddy? Let's see. Hey, John. Let's see.
Hey, bros, were we talking about socialism and I missed it?
Well, we were just explaining how that it just hasn't been tried properly yet. We'll get it right the next time.
That's what we're all hoping for, right? Joke, guys, joke.
Things, but I don't know that that's one of them.
Did I hear Kansas Prepper joined us?
Yeah, Kansas is in the chat.
Oh, Lord. My buddy Angry American just popped in. Y'all got to keep an eye on him, too.
Angry American.
Let me just throw a plug in there for him. If you haven't read his book series, you need to. and that's a very serious need to, not a joke at all. It's good. It's a good story, but there's a lot of good information in the story, but also a lot of good what if situations to put yourself in, and what would you do in those same situations. It's good stuff.
So is he a writer?
Yeah, he's an author of the Going Home series.
I got you.
Let me mention an author who's actually, I think, on here with us tonight. I see somebody saying hello to Integrated Modern Refugee. By the way, hello to you. And he says hello to Integrated Preparedness, who I guess I missed in the comments. But thank you for being here, all of you, and thank you guys for being here. And I wanted to say to Integrated Preparedness, Steve, I got your package. Thank you. He's an author, and he wrote, and forgive me for not remember what the series is called. You can throw it out here, Steve, if you would. My Stonemont, is that right? It's a 3-book series. I haven't read it yet. I just got it today, and but I'm excited to. It is. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve, but I believe it is the story of a family and their resilience and an after the fact. There you go. What you got, Zombie?
I'm just letting you know. I mean, it's the Stonemont series.
Stonemont series. It is. Okay.
This book was I'm only halfway through the first one. I done told everybody I'm a slow reader, but these books are put together really well. It's a very, very good story. You're going to be hooked on it as soon as you read it. Like I said, I'd advise everybody to check these books out. They're really good. His new one just got done. I haven't received it yet, but I'm sure I will. But I need to get through the other ones first. So the first one of the book is called The Reversion. The second one's The Revival. And can't remember what the third one is, but they're all really, really good books.
Well, I'm looking forward. I'm actually going, I've got a mandatory work retreat that we're going on the next couple of days. And so I've got the first book tucked in my bag already. Hey, Delaware Patriot, you're absolutely right. Venezuela and Puerto Rico are great examples of what may be to come here. Take notes. I agree with that statement. Thanks for being here, by the way. You know, I believe on a live stream, Zombie, that you and I did possibly with Kansas a while back, a good while back, those very same sentiments were being shared, in that discussion about,
Right.
There it is. Integrated Preparedness, Steve says the Stonemont series. The first one is The Reversion. Second one is The Revival. And the third one is The Renewal. His books. Available on Amazon. You can go check him out. There's no sponsorship or nothing like that. I just like the guy. He's a good guy. And so there you go. Go check it out. So let's see. Philip Vines. Hey, Philip Vines. Socialism is great for lazy moochers. That's right. By the way, shoot me an email. I got something for you.
Hey, RWP.
Yes, sir.
Corsair just text me. He says he can't comment no more.
I really didn't do anything to Corsair. That was a joke when I said that.
Yeah, that's what I told him too.
All right. What do I do there? Let's see.
Not sure. Thought that's interesting though.
Hey, let me speak something real quick. We got 80 people watching. If everybody will hit that like button, the thumbs up, please go ahead in there. Hey, Bug Out, Bubba, good to see you. Cindy's Cross Stitch, Worst Dangerous Freedom, Dan H. But yeah, if you guys will hit that like button, that would help this video get moved around a bit. Let me see if I can figure out what's the deal with.
Earlier comments are still there, so.
Right, that's what I see.
See, and I can't. Can I not go backwards?
It might have you froze, buddy. It freezes me all the time.
Okay, well, I'm not going to try, but I don't know why. How about this? Well, look, there's Corsair. He's got dots. Okay, hold on. Let's see what's the deal there. Let me click that. I'm hitting the options on his.
Don't worry about it. If you didn't do nothing, there you. If you didn't do nothing, don't worry about it.
All right.
Yeah,
I did. I don't know what the deal is there, Steve. Corsair Trainers. I don't know. I'll tell you what. If you got a comment, you got my number. Text me, and I will.
He's commenting now.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah. So just hit the like button. Says XCO 781. Exactly. All right. Thanks, guys. I see that count going up. All right. So I just kind of, these are just some things over the past few days that just, there's no details. It's just a little list kind of, okay? Just some different things. And I'm going in no particular order, but I want to toss some stuff out to you. This one is going to be pharmaceuticals and vaccines. Thoughts in general from either one of you. Okay, there's Corsair. Says he was just typing me a message. Okay, cool. Go ahead, guys. What you got? Anybody?
You're gonna have to re-say that because I was reading the comments when you was talking.
Pharmaceuticals and vaccines as a knowing that it's a for-profit industry, which I don't have a problem with for-profit industry, but is it being misused? You know, and is it causing harm? And is that deliberate and by design, or is none of that going on? Your opinions, John?
I don't know enough about it to say for certain. Off the top of my head, I would say no, I don't honestly think so. I'm just a full-blown capitalist. If you've got a company and own a company and you can sell a product and make money for it, the market itself is going to dictate what you can make on it. If you charge too high, people aren't going to buy it. If you charge the right price and everybody buys it and you clean house, then so be it. I know that there's arguments to be made, well, for, life-saving drugs and this, that, and the other, but it's still a free market, and in a free market, you're not going to control things like that.
Well, I've got a lot of comments. Big pharma is the devil. Pharma companies are suppressing natural cancer treatments. Let's see. Should not be mandatory. Some people don't even go to the doctor. So on and so forth. I asked because there's I don't want to get, there's some part of anonymity, that needs to be kept, but let's just say we have in this family personal experiences with having to make choices that are given to us largely pharmaceutical and vaccine related. And there is, let's just say in the RWP gene pool, predisposition to autoimmune issues, which, vaccines and many pharmaceutical drugs tout right on their labels that are, a mile long and tiny print, if you choose to read them, how some people, old, infirmed and the super young, and then people with autoimmune issues and things like that, should stay away from them. So, and I'm keeping this just as light as possible, to be real honest with you. I don't want to get in necessarily to my personal opinion about it. You could probably deduce where I'm going, but anyway, there's a big push going on right now and this is another, that Alphabet company that runs lots of platforms, very much like the one we're on. And, the one I'm speaking of, I believe, it comes in a Plex, right? So anyway, they are, among others, actively suppressing information that is other studies, independent studies, alternative to, the pharma companies' versions of what's going on and all that kind of good stuff. So that dispute, you know, or at least disagree a lot of times with the claims that are made in the pharma stuff about the safety of vaccines and things like that. And I guess where I'm going is part of what I believe at least could be going on, and why people are so crazy these days, in that, you know, you kind of wonder how people think the way they do. Well, they're being poisoned, you know, and they're being controlled by all the different things, you know, any validity to like the sky seeding, geoengineering, you know, and things like that. The stuff that they put in our food, you know, all of that stuff. And farms, you know, I guess just without making a serious point in it, just the whole package. You know, what do you guys think that is part of a control mechanism, that is part of this big beast system that we talk about?
I suppose it could be. I mean, I think vaccinations and stuff like that, I think should be voluntary. But I think there should be as much open information about them as possible. When it comes back to the prices and stuff, like my friend Derek just said in the comments, we're in a weird place right now where our healthcare system isn't fully private and it's not fully controlled by the government either. It's in this weird middle state where there's both sets of fingers in the pie, and that dramatically complicates things. And thanks to socialists and socialism in other countries, the same pharmaceutical companies that sell stuff here, that sell them in other countries, because of the socialist policies in other countries, they have to raise prices here in order to turn a profit, to actually be a profitable business and stay in business. Now, whether you like the business or not, et cetera, is irrelevant to the fact of, if a business is going to stay in business, it's got to make a profit. So part of our problem is socialism in other countries affecting things here because of that sort of thing. But as far as the vaccines themselves, I think it should be a personal choice, whether you want it or not. And not to jump off that, but somebody said something a while ago in the comments about only in America do people go to the doctor when they're not sick. Well, me personally, and y'all feel free to disagree, but the best time to go to the doctor is when you're not sick. Because if you're sick, then something's already wrong. I'd rather go to the doctor before I'm sick and catch something early than to wait until it's bad. In other words, I'd rather get an annual physical every year when I'm not sick and something show up funky in the lab results or something, and me get an early jump on it, than to wait until I'm laying in a bed, you know, needing to be put on all kind of medication and doctors and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's a lot of good reason to go to the doctor when you're not sick. Just my 2 cents.
Zombie, any thoughts? Uh-oh.
Zombie's mic went dead.
Zombie, can't hear you, brother.
Still can't hear me?
There you
Yep.
go.
Now you
There you
can.
go.
All right. I agree with capitalism. I believe companies ought to make money. I think there's a difference between having a life-saving drug available on the market than to have opioids on the market. I think there's 2 separate categories here. One category I blame on the individual. I believe people are looking for their next fix, just trying to get through this world, wants to be numb, don't want to worry about any problems going on in their life. And I believe the other side to it is people are actually needing the medicine to live, to save their life. I think there needs to be something drawn in the middle between opioids and actually life-saving drugs. If you have a drug that you know is going to be life-saving, that you know you're going to be able to save people's lives, the owner of that company ought to make that drug available to help people. He should have a conscience to be able to try to save lives. And if he does that, I believe his capital will go out through the roof. He doesn't have to charge $2,000 for an EpiPen when there's a lot of people that need it. He can charge a lower price, make more money, because the more you sell, the less you have to charge. Far as the opioids go, I believe that's an individual problem. I believe we have a people problem, like I've said before in many of my other videos. I believe people are hooked on these medications and they crave it, they want it because it's what they need, it's what they think they need to have. So we got two problems on two fronts. Should it be mandated? It's hard to say anymore. I just think people need to get their bodies, get their life as straight as possible. But I do believe that if there's vaccines out there to take care of such as AIDS, you don't hear about AIDS anymore. I wonder why. You know, you look at Magic Johnson, he's still living, still strong, still running things. That's because he had the money to afford the medication to go towards his virus. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They say that there's cures to cancer out there, but the regular people like us can't afford it because the market on it, you know, it's only for the certain elite. I do believe they already have a cancer, they have a cure for cancer out there. I already believe that. But it's just for a certain select few. So I think that's the problem. I think we got too many people that Satanists running this country, running this, all of this show. And that's the reason why everybody's in the shape they're in. When it goes to the opioids, I blame the individual. I don't blame the person making it. I don't blame the meth maker that cooks it in his kitchen. I don't blame the crack cocaine people who put it together. I don't blame the marijuana farmers. I don't blame none of them. I blame the people who actually crave it, have to have it, and will do anything to take it. That's who I blame.
You know, it's all that aspect of it. Let me say this. There's another aspect I would add, and that is the one of the unnecessary drugs for the created conditions. You know what I mean? The do you have irritable bowel? And I'm not discounting those that have irritable bowel, but is that worth taking a medicine that has all these other side effects? You know, the list of side effects in these commercials is longer than the narrative in the commercial. Things of that nature is kind of where I was going with it, where I think there's a lot of poisons being made for the sake of profit. Yes, there are life-saving drugs, and yes, there are problems with addictive drugs pharmaceutically, but ultimately, I think it leads down to I don't know. I suppose it's a choice, like you say. On one hand.
If you go to the foods and what they're putting in our foods these days, you can go all the way back. If you want to get talking about the foods and what they're spraying and GMOs and all this stuff and what they have done to this society over the past almost 100 years, this started back in the Great Depression. This started back in 1929 when they started running all the sharecroppers off their land for big farm industry to come in and bulldoze their house down and take over their whole industry. Went to the rich man, went to the 1%. So they had all these fields. You go out there, and I'm sure, you got, the Kansas and everywhere out there, Nebraska, all them open fields out there, flat land. But how many small farms do you still see in operation? It's all a monopoly. All of these people got the whole control on the whole food network, and it's only a certain few. The small farms that actually take care of their produce, put the most love into their farm, lost it or is struggling to survive because the big industry won't let them survive. So they come through there and they spray all their crops with Roundup and everything else, just like what came out in Cheerios not long ago. They're found in traces of Roundup and everything else, 2,4-D. I can go down the list. That's because our small farms are eradicated. That's what's wrong with our country. We're eating no telling what gunk coming out of the fast food chains and everything else because the cattle's being fed all kind of antibiotics, super steroids to make them produce. That's how come the dairy farms are shut down all through the Southeast. That's how come all of us has been shut out of business. And you know what? People would rather go to a store and then go to their own little organic community place to buy food. I know a lot of people like that. They won't even go support their local farms. They just go and get what's on the shelf. And it's a shame.
A lot of that is law of unintended consequences as well, because you had such as the country grew, population grew, there was such a massive demand for food that they started trying to find ways to make the crops bigger, more bountiful, make livestock produce faster, etc. So before they knew as much about some of this stuff as we do now, they started using the different pesticides. They started using all antibiotics and hormones and stuff, not knowing that it carried over into the food and that we would ingest it. So I think there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of unintended consequences in there, and a lot of government regulation in there. Again, that gets back to the whole small government thing. Whenever government gets real big like that and they've got their nose into everything, then when they start mandating that, you know, cattle have to be given these different medications and they have to mandate that crops have to be sprayed with this food or you're not going to be able to sell it or whatever, that's government screwing things up again. Whether that's intentional or, again, law of unintended consequences, that's up for debate. But either way, it ain't good. So I personally, when I was little, I used to remember going with my parents to the local farmers market all the time. We'd buy as much there as we could to avoid, you know, getting stuff at the actual grocery store, just because we like getting it from the farmers market. But those are hard to find anymore.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we got one in the town we used to live in that's still fairly close by, and it's only on like Saturday afternoon for like 4 hours, and you know, there's not a regular place to go to get local, you know. So, and a lot of our local farmers have gotten involved in bigger conglomerates, sold out, and that kind of things.
You know, to deal with the government and regulations and stuff.
Yeah,
they're forced to, or either they go out of business.
If I was say if they're too small, they can't afford to. Let me say hello to where'd he go? Pancho Villa. Hello, brother. And thanks for being here. Everybody else, I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but thanks for being here. Looks like we got 85 watching, 61 thumbs ups. Hey, everybody, hit those thumbs ups, please. We appreciate that. It helps us all out. All right, listen, again.
Hey, RWP,
yeah.
these, just staying on the subject real quick, these farms around here that I watched go under ever since the probably 1990 is when I first started seeing it. I was a young boy, milking grade B milk. I don't know if anybody wants to hear this or not, but I figure I'm going to throw it out there. Either way it goes. We was milking grade B, and back then grade B milk was made in a wooden barn. You could have your cattle come up, you go into a wooden barn, the troughs was wood. You scoop the feed out from hand, you put them in there. We called it a double three. We milked 3 on one side and the other 3 on the other side waited. Government regulation and the rich man. Now, I don't have nothing against people who have gotten rich off of good capitalists, who has been good businessmen and made the right decisions. But the ones I'm speaking of got in bed with the government, taking out all kinds of government loans to keep them funded to shut down all the small farms. And the reason why I know this is I was there when they came to my house, when the FSA came out to my house, my daddy's house, walked in our barn, gave him a slip and said, this farm is no longer yours. This farm is going to somebody else. I watched my dad's whole life go down the drain because he did all of his business on a handshake. There never was no paper. There never was no lawyers. There never was nothing. We lost 200 head of Holstein cows. We lost 300 acres. And I watched the man ride up on his four-wheeler across our land and start talking about what he's going to do with it. We had 30 days to sell every single bit of our livestock and get all of our equipment out. The elite that runs these farms all across the United States, that has these thousands and thousands of acres, is the ones in bed with the government. They are in bed with them. They get all of the government funds. We went back to the FSA office to apply with good credit, perfect down payment, everything we needed to start up another farm. We got denied 6 times since 1990 that we couldn't start up our own dairy farm. But yet, the 3 or 4 big farmers in my town and across this area, they're at the FSA office every day getting their checks, getting the stuff, getting their new tractors. And I know you see it come through, and you see what I'm talking about when they can get the big John Deeres and the big Case Internationals.
Yeah.
And they can get all of this stuff. But it's because they're in bed with what I consider the deep state, the enemy.
Yes.
See, they've turned us against them. And they didn't have to do that. That was all about greed and power.
And in a way, they turned y'all against each other.
It did.
You know, the local guys, because, you know, I mean, what do you do? And that's what I'm dealing with. I mean, in the 10 years that I have been in the ag industry, and that's what I do, if anybody didn't know, I have seen where I used to see a lot of local small guys. Now I see big outfits, you know, different folks from the same 3 or 4 big outfits, you know, that are doing the farming, that are running, you know, they got acreage everywhere. You know, there's no big, you know, long fields in a row. It's all little spots. They're all little farms they've sucked up, you know. And these guys have nothing left, you know.
But they don't have nothing left, and that's the reason why preparedness has always been in our family, because we went through a dark time in life in that certain period.
Let me drop something real quick. There's a lot of comments I'm missing, and I apologize, guys. I'm going to try and go back. I can't go backwards, but if you guys get a chance to scroll back, if you see anything good that we've missed, bring it up. But Brittany Rose Butler is here. Thank you for being here, Brittany, and says, okay, prepper newbie question. What is the deep state specifically? I've been hearing the term a lot, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'll throw out a brief synopsis and then put the floor to you guys if you want. But the deep state, I think, is probably a quasi-generic term, but it has to do with the people and corporations and the big money that actually does truly control and own everything. And if you follow the money, in a lot of cases, you can't follow the money, but there's plenty of, you know, examples and traces of how to follow the money from all these little corporations that meld into one and go up to a few rich people around the world. And I think that is more or less the definition of the deep state and all of their goings-ons, because everything that happens in the world that is presented in mainstream life, media, etc., is deliberate. It is on purpose. It is by design. And it is for a purpose, and it is not for the betterment of mankind, for you and I. And I'll sort of stop there and throw it out there to you guys, either one of you.
I think you kind of hit on it for the most part. I would take it a little further and say a lot of the deep state are. It is a kind of generic term. There's a lot of people in the government that are part of it, people that are entrenched deeply into the government and have been in it in one form or capacity for a long time. And probably the easiest way to say it would be they're all about their own power, maintaining their own power and furthering their own power, regardless of what lengths they have to go to do that. It would also encompass other people that they're in bed with, whether it be big money people like George Soros, which we all know where he stands on things. Here's an example, and I'll try to keep this as brief as I can. So everybody remembers when I can't say his name because I refuse to do it, but the previous occupier of the White House, when he said he wanted to fundamentally transform America, everybody heard that, but they didn't really hear it. He did fundamentally transform America, but the way he did it was internally. He quietly put people that were quote unquote his people or people that thought like him on board that idea in all kind of various positions of authority and power all across the government, all the way from the IRS, the FBI, the entire Department of Justice, the Department of State, right on down the line, from lowly secretaries that can conveniently lose papers if one needs to be lost, right on up to top people in those agencies. He cleaned out a lot of the upper officer corps of the military and put different people in charge in positions that the president can appoint. All that was designed intentionally so that they would be in place to do much of the things we've seen recently happen, even if he wasn't in power. And a lot of them are still in those positions that nobody even knows who they are or where they stand on things. They're just there. And you have to kind of think of them, for lack of a better term, as sleeper cells. Right now, the president's not in office that's going to, he's on the opposite side of the fence of them. But should the next election swing back around and another democratic, socialist, communist get back into power, well, those people are already in positions to be effective and influence things to bring about their own final goals. And without spending 2 hours on that, none of their final goals are good for any of us.
Agreed, 100%. And that's a fine explanation for it. Zombie, you got anything you want to add?
The man of sin controls the deep state.
That's true too.
I mean, you go from the Rockefellers to the Rothschilds to everybody else who makes the calls, the shots. Satan himself. I wish people would actually come to realization that Satan himself is walking this earth, and he's not. He don't have a pitchfork and horns either, folks. I just wish everybody would hear that.
Hey, let me. Couple of things. Common sense makes sense. Asked about 2 questions here, or 2, like 1 question and a comment. Earlier, he asked about who here listens to Q, and what do you think about that? And I've got my own thoughts on that. I'll share in a second. But the second was, well, let me address the Q thing real quick. I think that's potentially a psyop. I don't pay any attention to it. I look at lots of other outlets. I look at news from every angle, frankly, just to try and, horn in on where the middle ground is on what's really going on, because you hear such a, right-handed view and such a left-handed view and all that kind of good stuff. The Q thing, I don't know. I'm not buying into the Q. I'm not discounting its validity. I don't know, but I think it's probably just somebody messing around or a psyop. Secondly, he asked, or he said, Trump can't be bought. That's why the Democrats and Republicans both don't like him. Do we believe that's true? You guys? Well, Zombie, looks like.
The reason why I support Donald Trump is because the left hates him. That's the only reason why I support him, is because when evil hates something so much that they attack the man constantly every day, I have to go with that. I have to go with what the tree is producing. If the tree is producing good fruit, it's good. If it's producing bad fruit, it's bad. And that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing good stuff coming from his tree. So that's the reason why I support Trump. Am I a Republican? No. Am I a Democrat? No. I follow Christ. I try to do the best I can. I fail just like everybody else does every day. But I still got to go with my gut. I got to go with my principles. And that's the reason why I support him. Can he be bought? No. He's got too much money to even worry about that. Is he a part of something bigger? More than likely, yeah. But all I can go by is what he's showing on the outside. That's all we all can go by.
You know, I agree with a lot of that. I'm technically still on the fence about Trump. I don't believe he's completely blameless by any means, but I do think that he, for good, bad, or worse, okay, I think he means what he says and tries his best to do what he says. And you know what I mean? And I appreciate that. I don't know that he really does have everybody's best interest at heart. I think he puts himself in the mix, just to be honest. But again, given the knowing that we're going to go to a communist government in either 2020 or 2024, period. That's going to happen one way or another. It's just whether or not it's, you know, at that time or at the next time. And so that's going to be why I support Trump in this next upcoming election. And if we have anybody in 2024 that looks to be, you know, at least of the right mindset conservatively and otherwise respecting what America is and or at least should be and was founded on, then that's where I'm going to go. Jackie Bird votes Constitution. Thank you. And also, Jackie Bird, you asked a question earlier about a shirt. Send me an email, my about section. It's in there. The world can speak at AOL.com, and I can tell you how to get one. But anyway, yeah, so that is.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, it's just a lot of people's going to get on him for things about the Second Amendment. I'm going to go ahead and bring up there is not one single red flag gun law that went on the president's desk. That is all false, bogus. That has to do with the state you live in. The bump stock thing, somebody had to have a way out after Las Vegas. That's what they used. Most of the people that complains about bump stocks is basically people who don't own them anyway. Right. Everybody that I know who owns bump stocks still has their bump stock. Nobody came to get it.
Right.
I mean, they went on sale. They started selling like hotcakes right before the law passed. You know, it's a give. It's whatever it is what it is.
Hey,
there's been.
And frankly, I still know where to go get one.
Absolutely. But I know it's more of the principle, and I get it. And I get some people don't like Donald Trump, and that's fine. Hey, you know, it is what it is.
Hey, dangerous freedom. Rip off the Band-Aid. If we're going to go commie, let's do it while I can still run and gun.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah. I wish. But the problem I have, and I'm going to bring this up, I've seen on other channels that they're calling just to go ahead and want people's thoughts on going ahead to vote for the very worst Democrat. Go ahead and get it over with. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. As a man of faith, you can't do that. You can't set up tragedy. You can't preemptively set up something tragic that's preemptive, it's premeditated. We are supposed to, as an evangelical conservative people that follow the Constitution, we are supposed to try to be as close to Christ as we can. So we're supposed to vote our principles as close as we can. And look, folks, there's no such thing as a bad Christian. You're either on one side or the other. Mm-hmm. There is no road in between. And if there is a road in between, you need to jump off the fence. Because the sad thing is that this thing is boiling down. And when the time comes, and it's going to be real soon, like RWP said, it's 2020 or 2024. That's it. That's all you'll have. Because communism is taking over America, no matter what anybody else says. Trump has basically, and I'm a firm believer in evil has to warn you it's coming. Okay, well, Trump has told everybody countless times, as soon as he is gone, the stock markets are going to crash. I don't know how many times he has to say that, but he's been saying it like crazy. All the man has to do if he wanted to crash the stock market was tweet that he wants it to crash, and then we're back in Depression 2.0. The problem is, go ahead, RWP. What's up?
Just before the comment again, because I can't go backwards. Crap. Who was it? Somebody just said, and I apologize. You're gonna have to show yourself again. Somebody that's been with us.
I see one right here.
About I complain about the.
That's me. He's talking about me. Yeah. Let me go ahead and address that.
Okay.
I complain about the big farm industry, but I support Donald Trump. That's for big food industry. Laugh out loud. I don't really even understand that that whole concept. So what I'm getting at is on this farm industry thing and about Donald Trump and his elite self and all that. Donald Trump wasn't there in 1929 and destroyed all the sharecroppers. This is not a Donald Trump problem. Okay? I can't put all of the rich people in one bag and just hate them all. I'm not supposed to hate anybody. I can't put all the bad people together and put them on a stool and say this group is bad, this group ain't. What I'm talking about is that the small people of this country that keeps this country running, small folk, is being eradicated. Now, what I can't do at the voting booth is vote for somebody who wants to still kill babies, who wants to still take them out of the womb when they're already fixing to be born, snap their neck, and then sell their body parts. You see, there's more to this than just big oil, big economy, big farms, small farms. It's got a whole conviction to it. You have to vote your principles. You have to vote with what fruit you're showing. That's why I vote. That's why I'm going to support him again.
Let me jump around here, if I may. By the way, it looks like we lost John at Alpha Charlie. I just sent him another invite, and I texted him to let him know. I'm not sure what happened there. He disappeared from the screen like he walked away for a minute, and now he's gone. Do you see him there, Zombie?
I don't see him, buddy.
Okay. Well, I called him again. I may try again in a second, but Common Sense Makes Sense made a comment about Joel Osteen. It was kind of just a jokey comment. However, again, he's a friend of mine. I know him. And Alpha Charlie has a family emergency, Derek Collins says. Thank you, Derek, for that update. I don't know what's going on there, but everybody, Zombie, can we pray real quick? Because Alpha Charlie had a family emergency that he had to duck out for. And would you mind? Can we pray?
No.
All right. Would you like to? Or would you like to?
You want to read it? What do you want to do?
All right. I got you. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing everybody together on this stream tonight to talk about things that are important, things that have to do with your influence in this world and in our lives, and the things that we need to be prepared for, the things that you show us the truth through. Thank you for giving us eyes to see. We ask right now that you lift up John at Alpha Charlie Concepts channel, him and his family, whatever their emergency is, Lord. We just ask that your hands are cradling that family and taking care of whatever this emergency is. Thank you for his friends and family that have brought this to our attention. We just and here he goes. He just texted me, God, I'm still praying. He has a medical emergency with his son. I don't know what that is, but God, we just ask that you lift up John's son right now, that you just keep your healing hands on him, and whatever this emergency is, that you take care of it and see them all healthy through this and back to normal life, to where they can carry out your will, Lord, and worship you and love you and thank you for the healing that you're going to give them. And we just ask these things in Jesus' most holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Let me send him a text back real quick, just saying 10-4. Okay, so looks like it's just going to be us the rest of the show. You guys, please keep him. Yeah, prayer warriors on it. Thanks, Wolf Stonehenge. Cindy, everybody. Amen from a lot of folks. Thank you guys. Keep him in your prayers. That's wow. I mean that right there. There's a great example, Zombie, and you'd agree, I think. Great example of why we prep, because things happen like that. And things will jump right in the middle of your best laid plans and just boom, right?
Right. That's right.
So here we go. So anyway, Common Sense mentioned Joel Osteen, and believe it or not, on my little short list of just topics that I thought we might just something to pull from, prosperity gospel. And what brings this up, Zombie, is because you and I are talking privately recently, and comments made between you and I about all these fakesters out there and the truth versus this garbage. And we don't have to talk about Joel Osteen. We don't have to talk about specifically a prosperity gospel. But what do you think about just false prophets in general and where we are as a people, as a country, as a platform, all of these things in general? Prepper Insights, real quick. Love being on a live stream that stops to pray. Awesome. Hey, that's real. That's what I wanted to do tonight, guys. I want this to be real. We're real people, and this is who we are. So, but Zombie, please go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use this platform since that's what we're mostly on. This is the platform that we are coming on to try to reach people, because a lot of people is on this platform. There has been people on this platform for the last 7 to 10 years spreading a false religion, a false gospel. And what they use is, and I hope people hear me, they bait the hook with preparedness. They bait the hook with prepping. They bait the hook with homesteading. They bait it with living off grid and showing what a wonderful community they're building. And then they cast that hook and that sinker into the water. And then most people start jabbing on it. Most people start getting on it, and then you get hooked. And when they bring you in on preparedness, then they start pushing their gospel on you, their fake gospel, their fake lies. All of this stuff that their venom they're spewing out of their mouth is all fake. It's all agenda. You see what they do, and I'm going to go ahead and do it since it's false teachers and false prophets. I'm going to go ahead and speak it. When they bring people into their fold and their so-called community, they don't bring in men, so to speak, men of God. They don't want people like me and other people to talk against what they're doing. So the people that join these communities, that go out to these other prepper channels, they get hooked in and they bring their family, but they have to sell everything else they have. And they have to give it to the alpha male of the community. Now, this alpha male of the community runs the so-called, I'm going to call it an organization instead of something else.
What?
He runs the organization.
You're going to call it something that rhymes with Rolt?
Yeah. or scribe. Let's do that.
Right. Scribes and Rolts.
So you got that. So when they bring them in, you bring your family. They ask you how many people's in your family. They ask you what's your job, what do you know how to do, and then they line you up and they put you in a certain class. But what they don't tell you at first is that they're going by some man-made old laws that gives the alpha, the head of the community, law over you and your family. So therefore, if the alpha chooses, he can even have your wife by law. But people don't want to hear this. People don't want to hear what's really going on. They want to believe that false teaching that they give them, but they don't want to get down to the nitty-gritty of what they actually believe. And there's been hundreds of thousands of people that has been sucked into this because that group of people has used this platform to manipulate their way through our society. And that's how come they're growing on this platform. I brought up the other day about small channels. Small channels are taking the bait and getting on these platforms. And they're even saying how they're going to move their family and move from where they are to move closer to these so-called organizations and communities.
Yep.
But they won't know the real effect of what they did until they get in. I'm telling you, when you get involved in some of these cults, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to give up your whole freedom. You're going to have to give up your whole soul. And you're going to have to listen to the man who controls the community. There's far too many people out there spreading this false religion, and that's exactly why my channel is on here to battle against it. I do not care if my channel fails because of this. I don't care whose feelings get hurt. But when you take Christ out of it, and you tell people that you got to read this certain way, and you got to read this certain language, and you got to do things this way, it is blasphemy and it's wrong. It's all fraudulent, and I would stay away from it. That's what's going on this platform. Too many people are getting suckered in on the prepper channels, and they're not really seeing what they're doing. They look at the other small channels that's trying to go on these channels. They're not actually, I don't believe, seeing what they're actually doing. I believe that they are really shaking the hand of Satan himself, because it's all false. There's only one way to heaven, folks. A Christmas tree on Christmas time is not going to send you to hell. Celebrating Thanksgiving, having a turkey with your family is not going to send you to hell. Going trick-or-treating on Halloween is not going to send you to hell. I don't know how much more plain I can be, because it all comes down to one thing, and that's what's in your heart. I'm done, RWP.
No, that was great, and you're absolutely right. And I can tell by the comments that everybody knows at least one such person that we're talking about. And I did a little research on that person for all of you watching who know who you're referring to in these comments. No training whatsoever. If you watch and listen to any, which I have just for educational purposes, for investigative purposes, there is a bouncing around of there is some Bible references and a lot that's not, and so it's a bunch of hoo-ha, and it's the age of false prophets. That's where we are, the age of false prophets. Bry for second A, that's okay. You don't know who we're talking about. There's lots that are like it. Just beware of false prophets is the bottom line, I think. And
I'm going to tell y'all something. I put out a video about 3 months ago, and it was labeled Christians versus Hebrew Israelites. Now, I labeled that because if somebody lives close to me, has a radical community, and it's basically about skin color in my area. I don't know about all these other so-called places out there in the world. I know about what's next to me. So this group of people, this organization, is about 30 minutes away, and to be a part of their community, they talk it up. They pick on the weak, on the people who has lost something in their life. They pick on the families who is struggling the most. They go out and they start taking them stuff, and then they start drilling them in. And let me tell you something.
John Hoochin, by the way, right on.
Do what?
John Hoochin, or however you say this last name. Right on, brother.
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
Go ahead.
These people,
keep on.
They're picking on certain people that they know they can control. It's all about control, every single bit of it. And so many people can't see that the way to heaven is so simple. It's right in front of your face. It's so simple. It's laying right there. It was shed on the cross. It's right there for the whole world. but yet they want to go by man-made laws and not God's laws. You know, to me, God created the 10 Commandments. Well, where did all the other commandments come from? It was from the Pharisees and the scribes of that time. Just like pork. You know, Peter had a vision, and it was over pork. Jesus said, kill it and eat it. And of course, I'm paraphrasing. But that's basically what he said. So when Jesus Christ says you can do something, you can do it. It ain't got nothing to do with a Christmas tree, folks. It ain't got nothing to do with this country eradicating all the Native Americans that they did when we came over. God bless the ones who took this country from the Native Americans that I can call it home. I mean, this has been going on for decades, for hundreds of thousands of years, centuries. There's always been wars, and there's always been a group of people to fall, and there's always been a group of people to rise to the top. That's just the way it is. It's the way it's always worked out. But be careful on all the false prophets out there on this platform that's trying to reel you in. They're pandering to what's hurting you the most, and it's enticing. I get it. It looks great because it's different, because it's not something that you're used to. But it's still wrong. And if it was so great and they say the world is against them, then how come the world is backing them up? How come when a channel like mine gets on here and speaks against this fake prophets that I get attacked by people who so-called say they follow Christ and the laws?
Yep.
Why do I get attacked? Why does over 200 subs fall off my channel? It's because, look, I have no problem calling something a cult, because all cult is a root word of culture.
Yep.
It's a whole different culture, okay? But I'm talking about premeditated manipulation of the word just to tickle ears and bring people in their community so they can be slaves to the alpha male who runs it. That's the facts.
Yep. Yes, sir. You said it, and that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I think most intelligent people, and there's a lot of you guys out there, no doubt, these channels that we've done brings it out. And so I think most can see it, you know, but there's a lot, obviously, that don't.
I can count 3 channels on my hand that has over 250,000 subscribers. That every one of them people on that channel is going to be on a one-way ticket if they don't try to figure out that they're in a bad place.
Right. Somebody talks about no-had law as satanic. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit one time. Still don't know much about that. Jeffrey Epstein, strangely absent from the news. You know, that's a guy with lots of money, lots of power, lots of influence, who is obviously, well, allegedly a pedophile and womanizer and abuser. But one thing for sure about Mr. Epstein, excuse me.
Hey.
One thing for sure about Mr. Epstein is he's got lots and lots and lots of famous political and entertainment-wise friends, powerful friends. And we all know that part of the, I'm not going to say we all know that. Maybe we don't all know that. But I know and believe that a big part of the, we go back to the deep state and those who control, those with the money, those with the power, those with the influence, that run all this stuff. They are into all types of demonic things, bloodletting, child rape, you know, what's the deal with the adrenochrome? You know, I mean, I'm getting on fringe topics here. But guys, if you know anything about this stuff, oh Lord, got somebody going on again that I gotta Put in timeout again. Bye-bye. So, by the way, if anybody sees that, pop it out. I'm not catching every comment by any means. So anyway. But listen, yeah, so the point is Jeffrey Epstein's out of the news. You know, and he's a big player in this bigger game, which is pedophilia and evil and control and doing what thou will, like you spoke of in your video earlier, you know? So any thoughts there? Any comments you'd like to say on that?
Nothing will happen to him. It all go away. It's all of the elite had something to do with that area. I do believe it actually takes place. I believe that he had something to do with all that. But I also believe that it's all going to be. That's the reason why all of this stuff came out about Area 51 and all this stuff got brought up, just because of this was coming up, and they're going to squash it. They're going to keep hammering the stuff on top of it so people don't know about it. And it's like I said, we're living in a lost and dying world. And what I have said about these channels out here and what I say about all pedophiles and rapists and everybody else, it don't really matter. But what I say about people, and let's talk about judging, because I know some people may say that I'm judging other channels. I'm judging other individuals. I am allowed by the word to judge righteously that I may be judged. Okay? So people need to understand the word before they say anything about me judging another channel or judging a car. You go up and you want a car, and you ask the guy for a red car, right? He brings you a blue one. Well, you just judged that car is blue instead of red. So you go to an apple tree, it's the same thing. It's either got apples or it ain't got no apples, or it's just another completely different tree. I'm judging a tree by the fruit that's on it. And that's the reason why, that's what I do to everything that goes on in this country and in this world. People's going to have to start showing some good fruit out there, or it's already going down the tubes, folks. But I'm telling you, if you can change the small stuff, such as your own self, your own heart, and your own family, I'm telling you, your life will be in so much of a better place, because it's so much of a struggle now to even get to where I'm even speaking of.
I want to say real quick, good night to Big Papa. And thanks for being here, T. Led Zepp girl. Right on, zombie, she says. Laurie K., thank you for being here, and your commentary is spot on as usual. Let's see, it's moving quick. Brittany Rose Butler, another change of topic question. I'm more into prepping than my husband is, though he is supportive. I just see it as part of my homemaking now. Anyway, any practical tips on encouraging him to prep?
I got one.
Go ahead.
To watch Zombie Farmer on YouTube and Real World Prepper on YouTube. Yeah.
Well played. Well played. You know, for me personally, my wife is on board, and I don't know, Brittany, how far back you go on either one of our channels, but Bride for Christ or Bride for Second Amendment says, get him to shoot. that's not bad, you know, if he doesn't already. But anyway, it's more than shooting. But for me, when I started having the revelations of prepping and why I should, and that was a God-given thing. Again, if you've watched any of my earlier stuff, I talk about that. But briefly, you know, God more or less showed me in 2011. I'll just keep it simply at this. He led me to begin prepping, specifically put up stores, put up food, put up water, put up medicines, be able to protect yourself, you know, say your cloak, buy a sword, the whole deal. And so I ignored it for a while, and then I couldn't ignore it anymore. And so I started doing it, and almost as seamlessly, he led my wife to the same things. But what I would say, if your husband, you know, doesn't want to be on board and maybe thinks it's kooky or whatever, as long as he doesn't try and stop you from doing what you do, or if you're in a position to make the preparations in a way that where you don't even have to include him, because my wife makes decisions all the time that do not include me. You know, they affect my life, and they are, you know what I mean? The decisions are there and made in such a way where I can benefit from the decisions that she has made. But you know, if you're in that position, just start doing it. You know, and if you love him, you know, just prep for him too. And if you ever have to call this stuff out, you know, he'll be happy that you did. I mean, and maybe be a believer then. But you know, you just do it, especially if you don't have to do it in secret. If he thinks it's kooky, but you do it anyway, great. Just keep doing it.
Yeah, I think I remember a comment where you said that he lost his job and then got another job. But, you know, you can always use that too, that none of us are promised a job tomorrow. And it's just like having an extra house payment in your bank. It's just like having an extra light bill stored away somewhere, some money stored away. It's just having enough to get through the next day. That's what I would start with, and then you can grow it from there. But this thing's going to be wrapping up here, I believe, within the next 5 years at least. I think this thing's going to be, there's going to come a time to where it's either going to go full-blown biblical or it's going to be reset. That's the only two options.
Yep. I agree. That's I'm not going to say that's what we prep for, but that's what we prep for. We're prepping, well, for a lot of different reasons, but frankly, I believe that in my lifetime, very soon, in fact, we're going to see, just to put it as vaguely as possible, because there's so many possibilities about how it could play out, and I want to get specific and all that, but it's going to come to where you can't rely on driving down the road, much less going to the store, much less going to work, much less being able to flip on a switch and the lights come on. I believe all of these things are certainly, there's a potential there. We already know we have such a fragile infrastructure for electricity and water and sewage and even our banking system, you know, all of these things. And any one thing could set this thing off, you know, in such a way to where you can't get up and have all the conveniences that you have, you know, today.
Right.
One day I think I'm going to wake up and it's, you know, you're going to wake up and you go, gosh, why is it so hot and stuffy in here? Well, the power's out. Okay, why is the power out? You know, it's going to be a few hours before you realize that things have gone really bad.
Another thing people don't ever bring up, y'all, if America collapses, the whole world collapses.
Yep.
I hope everybody, you know, kind of realizes that. There is so many countries that depend on our food, our grains. It is unbelievable. If we collapse, the world collapses. And that is where I believe it will go full-blown biblical. That's just me. There will be a man rise up to fix it all, and he will deceive every single nation. That's what I see. If we get hit with an EMP and knocks out our grid and we can't function, we can't ship stuff, we are shut down, everything is at a standstill, the world will be on fire. People are going to burn and just go crazy. That's what's going to happen. See, in 1929, we went from a period, October 29th, 1929, is when we went, I think it even lasted, I got it wrote down somewhere, let's see. Can't remember where I got it.
You got this? I'll be right back.
Yeah, I got it. It lasted for, I know, probably 10 years or so. The people back then was struggling so much. They couldn't feed their kids. They couldn't feed their family. There wasn't, you know, the Dust Bowl was going on, dust storms across the land, famines. But people still had morals. They still had principles, and they still, frankly, they still believed in God. Today, is going to be Armageddon compared to the depression we had in 1929, because people literally don't care about anything. They barely care about themselves anymore. So, I mean, my advice is we all really need to be ramping up this thing, topping off stuff, making sure things are rotated out. If something happens and we're called away and we're not here anymore, well, great, somebody else can have it. But if we do have to endure some wrath in this country, it's best to have a mindset of preparedness. And that's exactly why these channels are on here, and a bunch of other channels that's on the chat. That's why they're here as well. So. Hey, real quick, Tara, I see your comment. I'm going to pray for you. You know, he might be whatever. I'm not going to even try to block you out right now because I don't even know if I can. But, you know, I believe you need prayer, and I'm going to pray for you. I'll pray for you the best I can. And maybe you'll get a blessing out of some of this stuff that was said today. I know you've been watching. I'm just going to pray for you. And maybe you can take some of this stuff and apply it to your life and your situation. And just remember that Christ is always available in your life. No matter how far down off the path you get, how far off the road you get in darkness, there is still that light available. And it's available for a certain time. So, just letting you know. Now, so your prayers ain't even going to be messed with because you got something messed up. Something's wrong somewhere. You're rejecting truth, and if you reject the truth, then you really are lost. So I pray for you. John, I agree. A lot of people will be okay. Need to keep prepping, need to keep striving, need to keep moving forward. Tara, I have Christ as well.
Sorry about that.
The reason why, Bob, the reason why, Mr. Barker, I'm glad to see you on here, buddy. The reason why the hostility is because it's a part of this other platforms I was talking about, these other channels I was talking about. That's the reason why the hostility was coming from her, is because she's been fed a bill of goods that won't sell. It won't sell in front of Christ Almighty. It's not going to sell now. So that's the reason why.
And I just put her in timeout again. I don't know how to block her in altogether.
I tried to talk to her a little bit, but it don't matter.
She look, and that's who I mentioned earlier. She comments on a lot of my stuff, and there's been, believe it or not, a couple of times, you know, Wolf, Stonehenge, Wise, Terror here. I don't know, but she's here all the time on my channel anyway. She comments on my videos, and there's been maybe 2% of the time that she's actually said something that made sense. You know, I mean, whether or not her mind overall makes sense in terms of what I would believe, but and a couple of times where she's agreed with something I've said, but for the most part, it's that kind of stuff. And so, and like I said before, this night is about truth. I hate that we lost John. Again, you guys don't forget that John has an emergency, a medical emergency with his son, Alpha Charlie Concept. So don't forget to just keep praying for him and his family and his son. And but anyway, that being said, tonight was supposed to be specifically. Let's see. Kanzi says, get some admins on your live chat. I don't know how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. I apologize. I don't know how to do that. But
somehow you can put a wrench on their names and they light up blue, but I don't know how to do it either. So
Kanzi, you want to be a moderator? Are you a moderator? How about this? Kanzi, you're now a moderator. Okay. Give me a heads up if you got that.
Yeah, he's got the wrench.
There you go. All right. Do I need to select admin?
You already did it. It's
Okay.
good.
You want to be blue? Dangerous? All right. Let's do it. Boom, baby. There you
How
go.
did you do that, by the way?
Do what?
How did you do that, by the way?
When you go over there and the 3 dots are there,
Yeah.
add moderator is an option.
Okay.
Just click them on. So there you go. Cool. Kanzi and Dangerous Freedom. You guys should be set for moderators. And going forward, next time we do this stuff, when you guys jump on there, if y'all want to be, or anybody that would volunteer, I'd appreciate it. Because I can't catch all these comments. I'm missing a ton of them. I'm trying to keep up, trying to look at that, and keep in the conversation too. So you guys, I appreciate the help. Thanks. There you go. So,
I mean, she's just lost. I mean, she's hooked on the. What it is she's from these other channels. By the way she's speaking, you can just tell where she's from, and she's been probably watching this stuff for seven years or more. There's no telling how long she's been watching. It's a shame.
well, let's see. All right, 10-4, Kanzi. So let me see what else I got here. Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, oil tankers being seized. I mean, a drone shot down. I mean, is this pandering? Is this real quick before we go into that? Brittany Rose Butler said, "I asked a question a bit ago that probably got missed. Best sources to get news and current events from." I have said many times in lots of my videos that what I do is I get news from left-handed sources, from right-handed sources, from independent sources down the middle, a lot of YouTube videos. I try and filter it all, and I've said that this is a term. I may not have coined this term, but I've never heard it before I said it, but I filter it all through a God lens. And at least that's what my intent is. And so, that's what I do. You've got to sort of take it all in and let God give you discernment as to what truth, if any, needs to be drawn from whatever news that you're looking at, from whatever source. That's what I do. What about you, Zombie?
I get mine from Zero Hedge and Drudge Report.
Like, period?
That's basically where I go to look a lot of times. Other than that, there's so many channels out there that's actually already on top of it. It just pops up on the feed if you just type something in on YouTube, and somebody's already covering it. So
right. Well, I like to look at specific. I like to literally seek out. When somebody, you've got, say, the same event. Let's say I don't know, Trump hands flowers to an elderly woman. Let's just, for example, throwing that out there, fictional. So one headline is, "Oh, benevolent Trump hands flowers to a lowly, needy, homeless woman. How great!" And then the next one is, Trump slaps woman in the face with handful of stitches, or switches, or what, and it's the same event. So you've got to sort of take it all in, really. All right, so let's go back real quick. Derek Collins, I believe this is Iran that wants to fight. One of Trump's campaign points was he's not going to war with them, and going to war with them would hurt his reelection. I suppose I agree that it would hurt his reelection. But what do you think, Zombie, if any, do you have any thoughts on it about these oil tankers being seized? I believe it was, I think, 2 confirmed and 3, a third one possible, the last I heard, and that was, I apologize, but that was like 2 days ago. Last I got to check into that. By Iran. These were UK oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, and we've got military out there. So does Great Britain. So what's your take on all that?
Well, first of all, Iran, everybody knows, the Muslim country. The first they want the death of Saturday, which is Israel, and then next they want the death of America, which is us, which is Sunday. I still believe that Iran realizes that we could wipe them off the face of the earth very easily. I do know that they have a radical belief. They are, basically it's a satanic belief. But on what they're doing, I'm not so sure anymore. I used to would jump on it and be like, look, they're attacking us. They're taking oil tankers. They're wanting a war. I used to would say that, but now since things have changed to the point where the media is really lying about everything every day, it's starting to look like all this is premeditated. That's what it's starting to look like. All this, in my opinion, is deep state manipulated. I'm starting to see that somebody wants a war. I do not believe that that small country wants a war with America without no backup. You know what I mean? They would have to have Russia, China, somebody back them up because they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. The only bad thing I see really coming out of the Strait of Hormuz is that if that strait shuts down, then you're looking at gas shortages, price hikes, gouging at the pump. And that could be what the deep state wants to put more money in their pocket. You know, it could be all of that, but it's hard to believe anything you hear anymore about any of this. If I was the president of the United States, say you take Britain, for example, and two of my oil tankers got seized by another country at gunpoint, I would unleash hell that day and I would go get my tankers back. But you don't ever hear about anything.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever hear about nothing. Nobody's doing nothing. They say they're in urgent meetings and they're calling for more sanctions and this and that. Bull crap. All this is just I believe it's trying to cause a trigger effect. That's what I'm trying to say. I believe that all this is just to make us pull the trigger.
I agree with that. I believe we're being led into it. And quite frankly, I believe that as much as I don't like it, I believe that United States going into some type of war setting with Iran is biblical. It's been written about. You know, they're all going to converge on Israel one day. I mean, that's, you know, if we're Christians and we call ourselves Christians and we know what the Bible says, we know where this is all headed, and we can kind of see the writing on the wall now. And that's why I think prepping and preparing is such an important thing. You know, that's my main motivation, frankly. You know, my mandate from God. You know what God has to say about it. You know, because that's my filter for life. You know, it is. I mean, I don't know. To me, I have, the older I get, I suppose I have a tougher time relating to those who don't see it that way, because there's so many lost people in this world that don't even see beyond their immediate, sight line, and they have no idea about a lot of this stuff, and they don't care even if they're asked. You know, that guy Mark Dice, I'm sure you've seen him on YouTube, you know, and he goes out, he's in Southern California, I think, and he gets on there and walks down to this pier on the beach and asks people simple questions, you know, about history and about world events and about things that everybody should know, that in my mind, everybody does know. Everybody that I associate with, they do know, you know, and these people are just brain dead clueless. And that's, you know, it's disconcerting to say the least.
Bob Barker asked me about the crops here in my area. I was in Kentucky today, and I was in northern Tennessee, and I did my route today, and I came close to stop at all the fields that I go by, and it's thousands and thousands of acres of corn and soybean. And I'm going to tell y'all, everything's looking good on our end, folks. I mean, I didn't want to put out a video and say that, you know, there ain't going to be no food shortages or this or that. But I honestly believe that the Southeast can feed the whole country. There ain't nothing going on in my area. Corn is over 7, 8 foot tall. Soybean is already waist tall around here. I hate to say stuff because there's been a lot of people put out about food shortages, and I don't want to get on that bandwagon, but all I can say is here in the Southeast, everything's looking good. And I even told people that about all the cattle that died in the floods. I told people. I went to a cattlemen's meeting here in my town, and we actually reached out to the state that actually every state has their own man in charge of all this stuff. And he was asked, well, hey, our prices, we'll be able to get, you know, some higher prices due to all the shortage. He said, this is quote what he said. He said, well, there was too many cattle in America anyway. And the fact of the matter is that maybe only 1% of the cattle has died. So I don't see any increases in price per pound. That's what the man told all us farmers here in Tennessee. So, I mean, I just don't get into all the hype on the food shortages and the beef shortages and all that stuff, because to be honest with you folks, there's plenty of grain here in Tennessee, and a lot of people don't even realize, but a lot of them corn crop fields that you're seeing out there that's been destroyed is grain for China. It's grain for cattle feed and horse feed and pig feed. It's not sweet corn. A lot of folks don't even realize that there's a difference between sweet corn and not sweet corn. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a, I mean, you go take a bite out of one and one or the other, and you'll see the difference. So here in the Southeast, everything's looking good. We're still going to get the shaft on prices. That's just the way it is. So hope that helps.
Exactly. So let's see. I'm sorry, checking emails, reading comments. Let's see.
Cindy's cross stitch. Absolutely. You hit it on the head right there.
Just like with crude barrels of oil.
We have enough oil in this country to last us 1,000,000 years.
Yep.
But we won't tap into it because the people who run the show want more money. I cannot believe we actually paid like $5, $6 a gallon back in 2008 or whenever it was. I can't believe we actually did that. I don't know if you did, but I know I did. When it shot up to $5 a gallon, I got 4 gallons for $20, and I was stupid enough to pay for it. Every single person, every taxpayer in America should have shut them down and said, we ain't going nowhere. That's what should have happened, because it's all manipulated. It's just a game, just as she just said. That's all it is.
That right there speaks to something else, Zombie, is that every American should have done that, like what you said. In the same way that every American should do lots of things in the face of many of these circumstances that we face today. Where and what and how do we do that in a concerted effort? I mean, you know what I mean? How does that come about without it being scrutinized, to say the least?
I'd almost say now we've gotten so individualized. Our families are just worried about our families.
Right.
There's no community outreach no more. Everybody's always worried about offending somebody else. I'd almost say it's almost impossible to do anything like that anymore. I'm just saying, as for me, you know, I wish I could. I don't know. It just sucks that we live in this time period that it's snowballing down to hell and there ain't no stopping it. The only thing that we can do is fix ourselves. That's all we can do.
I agree with that, and I think the other thing is I think where we'll see the prepping community, the Christian community shine. Fortunately and unfortunately, I think it's not going to be a beforehand thing. I think it's going to be after an event. After something happens, then I think we'll see people come together and start to make things right as they can, as tough as it's going to be. Hey, Little Mountain Farm, good to see you. But you know what I mean? I don't see it coming together beforehand to stop something from happening. I see it more reactionary. And I'll take that. If that's all we've got, I'll take it. You know, but I think that's where we are.
Well, they talk about the food shortages, and you hear the warnings on the news and everything else, but then we're still shipping China their food. It's all a game. Every bit of it is a game, y'all. That I don't know. It's just it sucks. That's about all you can say. Is
yeah. Yep.
You know, honestly, the farmers ought to sell. I understand where the farmers are coming from because they got to make their money, and I know it's all capitalism and all this stuff. But if I was a farmer, I'd have to sell American. You know what I mean? I'd have to find a buyer that would want my product. But here again, we're on two separate, totally different things. All corn ain't eatable.
Right.
All soybean ain't eatable. I hope people actually, you know, there's a lot of people who don't know that.
Oh, no. I guarantee you I know it. You know, there's, lots of different strains here, and you can't just munch on any of them. You'll be sorry. All right, let me jump on around here to something else again. Just going from my little list I made of different things. Some of these things more important than others, maybe, or at least more pertinent. Flesh-eating bacteria in the Gulf of Mexico and Ebola in the world. I know you talked, Zombie, about the Ebola thing a little bit in a video a while back. Flesh-eating bacteria in the Gulf of Mexico. There is, I have seen reports and videos and different information on that being a, not a natural thing, perhaps a by design situation, perhaps by man, I don't know. And Ebola, I mean, two different topics, I get it, but similarly in that they are affecting, or potentially will be affecting, United States citizens on a large scale. Some people are proclaiming. I don't know where I stand on that, where I feel about that, because I don't know enough about it, to be honest with you. But anything you've got to offer on that?
I'm going to say this. All of this diseases, it's all plagues. It's all biblical. I don't care what anybody says about it. This has to happen. This is going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. Ebola, for instance, coming from the Congo. That's where they say it all originated from. They are pulling this stuff in. You want to go ahead and shout that out real quick?
I do. Kenneth H., thank you so much. I appreciate that. The problem is it's hard to beat an enemy who doesn't play by the rules, but has the ability to force you with extreme prejudice. That's it. I mean, that's exactly it. And that's why I think, what we said earlier about what do we do? How do we get together? Thank you so much for that, by the way, Kenneth H. Really, very, very generous. And I thank you. That was cool. Very cool. As a whole, what do we do proactively on the front end? I think largely nothing, because how do you gather this? I think there's a lot of willing participants, but how do you gather it without being squashed beforehand? So I think it's going to be a reactionary thing. But go back to your Ebola commentary, please, Zombie.
I mean, it's all, like I said, it's all biblical. This stuff has to happen. There's going to be plagues and pestilence throughout the land. That's how come I think we're all leading up to that one event that's going to really shake things up, and it's all coming to a head. But when you go back to the Congo, and now these people have somehow made it all the way from Africa. They've made it all the way from Africa, across the ocean, up through Central America, through Mexico, and now they're sitting in San Antonio, and they're shipping every single one of them to Maine, to their little community in Maine they're building now. Every one of these Congo people have rolls of $100 bills. I've talked to other channels that's down there at the border, that's in Florida and everywhere else. These people are walking into Nike and buying brand new Nike shoes with $100 bills. And when they're being asked questions, where did they get this money from? They get violent. They get plumb violent, and they're here on top of that illegally. So we all know that down in San Antonio that they have the only research lab that's independently owned, I guess, in the world is in San Antonio for Ebola.
Right.
I think a lot of that has to do with what's going on with Ebola. I think that they are strategically putting these people in place to where they want them. That way they can vote their way. That way they can spread it their way.
Yep.
When it goes back down to the flesh-eating bacteria, that's here in Tennessee as well.
Yep.
That's in all these rivers and streams. And let me tell you something, that was put in here by people. It just didn't form. It was put in here by these labs who create this toxic stuff and spread it for every single one of us to get. It's not safe to go in the water no more, folks. I don't know if chlorine can kill this stuff. I don't know Ajax can wash it off. You know what I mean? It's best to stay away from all of these places. The guy in Tennessee, he was just walking on the shoreline.
Yeah.
And got it. That is crazy stuff, folks. People's going to have to really watch what they're doing because it's going to get worse.
Let me say a couple of things. Kanzi, who we had made a moderator, had to drop out. Thank you for your help, Kanzi. Dangerous Freedom is carrying the wrench. Thank you, brother. Philip Vines, thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you for that pledge there. That's awesome. Keep up the great message. Thanks, buddy. We will. I think I sent you an email earlier. Just holler back when you get a chance. I'll check in a little while, and we'll put our minds together on what we got to do there. RWP makes a mean list. And Bob Barker, you said something earlier. Yeah. How do you meet people?
You don't.
Well, don't say that. Look, you do meet people. Look, let me share something with these folks, okay? If you guys don't already know this guy right here, and from my perspective, he's right there in that little box. Now, for y'all's perspective, I don't know where he is on the screen, but Zombie Farmer is a friend of mine. I've never shook the man's hand or seen him in person, but he is a friend of mine. And now, frankly, I believe that was a God design, how we came together, how we came to know each other. I've met some other guys on here on this platform that I can say that I know are good people, you know. I don't know that there's a cut and dry way to meet people like-minded like that. I think you just have to be open to meeting people. Thank you, Wolf Stonehenge. You're right. My wife agrees. Quit smoking, that is. Anyway, there's no cut and dry way to go out and meet people like-minded people. I guess if I could offer anything to that, I would say be open to meeting people and to get to know people. And you know, if it's God's will and that's what you're praying and that's where you are, that's where your heart is and where your mind is. And a lot of times, I mean, God's real good, at least he has been in my life. Even when I haven't been looking for him, he finds me and goes, look at this, you know, and shows me something or brings somebody to me or something. And me and Zombie, I believe, are a product of that very thing. And so it can happen. I don't know that you can force it to happen. I don't know that you can, you know, plan on it. It just be open. Just be open, you know, to meeting people and to having the discernment of the Holy Spirit to tell you whether or not this is somebody you need to spend any time with or not. And it's a tough road. I get it. I got a lot of people talking about smoking. Tried to quit. Bye, Brittany. She's got to go. James Smith said it's hard. I know. So yeah. No. Look. I've been back and forth with the vape pen and the cigarettes and total abstinence, and I don't wish anybody to ever start with them cigarettes. I don't. And Zombie, I know that you guys were tobacco farmers, and I know that you are not a tobacco user, and you know, so I don't fault you for being a tobacco farmer, but, because it's, you know, it's up to me, the individual, to use the product or not. So, and I get that, you know, and yes, that is something I'm working on. And look, if I could solicit prayers, 85 people watching still, it says, all you guys here, pray for me. I mean, I want to quit. My family wants me to quit. I need to quit. I don't even want to do the vape thing. You know, I'd rather just not worry about any of it. I know people who have quit, you know, personal friends. So no, it's possible. It has not happened for me. Who is stronger, me or the product? I get it, Stonehenge, but I don't know if you've ever been a smoker or not, but it's tough, you know. It's tough. But anyway, I appreciate you guys' concern and thank you, because you know, that's something I'm working on. That's personal deal that I'm dealing with, and you know, hopefully I'll get there very soon. You know, we made life changes. We moved out here to Area 53 in the last, you know, month and a half, and so that's another life change I like to make, and let things be very different going forward. So thank you guys. Prepper Insight, Cindy Cross Stitch, James Smith. Corsair says smoking keeps him out of jail. I know what you mean. I do. Because sometimes when the nerves hit you, it's like, you know, I get it. I get you, brother. Survival Metal Man says he quit after 28 years, did the vape for a few years. Now he needs to get off of that next. Okay, so, but, you know, hey, I get it. Laurie K, thank you. Let's see. Wolf says, yes, he was a smoker, went cold turkey. Well, good, brother. Good on you. And, I mean, seriously, good on you. I'm glad for you. So, anyway, that's all I got on that. Where are we at? 8:58 Central Time. Let's say we give it another, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes maybe, and call it.
Yeah, I'm needing to probably get off here, buddy. I mean, 9 o'clock is probably going to be my cutoff for me.
Yeah. Let me throw this out there to you guys. If there's any specific questions, I'm looking now. Do me a favor. Put them in all caps so I can see them, because my eyes are not as good as they used to be. I'm looking right now at comments right in there. So if there's any questions or comments that you want us to bring up or talk about or answer, maybe about 5 minutes to jump on that, and then we're probably going to sign off. I want to say I appreciate everybody for being here. If you have not already, please go over and join me on Patreon. $1 a month is what I've got it set up to. You can put whatever you want on there if you were so inclined, but $1 a month, it helps. It really helps, and I appreciate it. Not necessary. I will be posting on YouTube, so no big deal. Either way, but I appreciate it. Also, go over to Zombie Farmer, do the same. Subscribe to our channels if you're not already. I know most of you guys by now are. Philip Vines, have we thought about a meet and greet? Yes. Zombie and I will put our hands together and shake hands one day.
He's talking about meet and greeting subscribers.
Oh, well, I'm talking about meeting and greeting you.
Hey, once we get together and meet and greet each other, then we may discuss meeting people who support us on this platform.
Exactly. I'll go with that. I'll go with that. But no, I think my plan, frankly, is before the year is out to figure out a way to get face to face with my friend Zombie here, and just so you know. And let's see, what do I think about a 25-year food bucket? I think a lot about it, Logan Clark. Okay, hold on. I got a lot. Updates about family emergency. No updates yet, KKR, on John Alpha Charlie Concepts. I'm not going to bother him, but John Hoochin says Zombie needs his beauty rest. Any update on John and son? No, James Smith. No, we'll let you know. I'll put a community post if I hear something. Just you guys be praying for him. I don't know what the deal is. So anyway, about a meet and greet, and then Logan Clark, back to you. What do you think about 25-year food bucket? I have many of them, and we have lots of meals worth. Now that's not all that we have, but we have a lot of that. We do, and it is I think a great addition to your preps. You shouldn't have it as your sole preps. You shouldn't have anything as your sole preps. You should have, I believe, diversity in your preps. That's probably one of the only places that true diversity needs to be. And that's a whole nother topic, but we'll leave it at that. And I have tried various products, various brands rather, of the 25-year shelf life food. It's not bad, not the greatest stuff you ever had, but it is, if you get it with the right caloric intake and protein and et cetera, low on sodium, et cetera. Laurie K says, please put it on video, us shaking hands, Zombie.
We can do it.
I'm telling you, it's going to happen one day. I promise you, it's going to happen one day. Sooner rather than later. I'm going to make sure of it. That's something I'd like to do. That's a goal of mine, you know. And but anyway, so that's your 25-year food take from me. I've got a lot of it, and I've tried it. Not bad. You're going to be real happy about it and think it's pretty darn good when you have to bust that seal and use it. So there you go. What you got on that, Zombie? Anything?
We've got a few of them, but I stick with whole grain stuff. You know that. I stick with mainly, I ain't going to lie to y'all. I know it sounds a little weird, but rice, beans, salt, and sugar is our foundation to our preps. You know, other than water and, you know, some other sources of jerky and this and that. I have quite a few head of cows. Well, it ain't too many. I've got 12 now, but if something goes bad, we're going to smoke and can all the meat off these cows before, you know, we get overrun and people try to take them. But other than that, we store grain. We store a lot of rice, a lot of American rice, and a lot of pinto beans and white beans and stuff like that. That's what we do.
Well, I'd say for me, of all my preps, food-wise, just strictly food. The bucket stuff, 25-year stuff, is probably about a quarter of my preps. I've got, gosh, I don't know, maybe half in cans, and maybe the other quarter in rice, beans, grain, etc. We're always adding, and we've got good, Logan. We've got a lot of plans for the future and to do more, especially now that we've gotten out to Area 53. We're going to do some growing. We're going to raise some animals. Now, this stuff, provided we're still able, you know, when the time comes, this will be a probably in the springtime sort of thing. You know, we're in the heat of the summer right now. It's you know, we just got here a month ago, so we're just working all that out. But we have some other plans to put into place. I'm on well water, got plenty of it. Got another water source, a big old fat pond that's, by the way, for anybody watching, still holding strong. If it wasn't dark, I'd turn the camera over and show you. But doing good since I repaired it with some bentonite, and so that's good. But yeah, so a diversified portfolio of foods, I think, is important. Spices as well, salt, sugar, honey. You know, like I say, rice, beans. If you got canned goods, you can really put some variety in there. Canned goods are from personal experience. I've eaten them, you know, old, way past best buy dates. Because you notice they're not expiration dates, they're best buy dates. So when we moved, actually, we packed a bunch of that stuff into these big plastic totes, right? And we stacked them all up. And well, let's just say somebody in the family unit stacked a tote that had bottled water in it on top of one of the can totes. And one of the bottles leaked. And so a little bit of water, yay much, stood in the bottom of this tote probably for 3 weeks before we got it opened and unloaded. Well, there was already rust starting to accumulate on these cans and stuff. So we had to move this canned goods into the immediate use. Look, we didn't throw it out, you know, because it's not rusted through like holes. It's just, it's stuff that if you set it on the shelf and leave it for 10 more years, yeah, it's going to be, you can't eat that. Botulism, you know, unless you want to eat a big plate full of botulism. So we've been working on that stuff. And, you know, so it is what it is. You got to rotate. You got to pay attention to it. You got to watch it. You got to make sure that where you store all this stuff, whatever it is, rice, beans, canned goods, 25-year shelf life, water, et cetera, make sure you store it in such a way that it can keep. Dangerous Freedom says he's had that happen too. Hey, as long as it's not through the can, eat that stuff and eat it quick. You know, that's what we've been doing. So, but we're still prepping. I think that stacking is going to be the key, even if we get a good solid garden going, even if we get some good livestock going that we can harvest, which is the plan. I think that it will still be very, very important to stack foods that you can store longer term. You know, because you can't, you know, Mother Nature can come in and ruin a crop in a night, you know. So, Zombie, don't forget the sweet tea, brother. You know, that's a Southern tradition.
We got it.
So, all right. Well, listen, I don't want to keep Zombie. I know he's got to go, and I probably need to get off here. We've been at it for 2 hours and 7 minutes. I want to say I appreciate you guys very, very, very much. Thanks for everybody that donated in the super chat, whether you meant to do it for me or not. I appreciate it nonetheless.
I'll be collecting.
Yeah, no, well, all right then. Hey, where's your thing? Do you got that thing that I sent you in front of you?
I don't. It's in the other room.
All right, no big deal. But yeah, she was like, oh, you got to send this to him. I got this for him. I'm like, okay. It was cool. So anyway, guys, thanks so much. And again, do not forget, and I don't know what's going on, but John from Alpha Charlie Concepts had this emergency with his son. So be praying for him. Just be praying for each other, guys. Pray for us. We'll pray for you. Pray for your fellow man. You know, just pray. You know, don't forget that God is who has made this whole life that we live possible. You know, God is who's going to see us to the next day and see us to our next meal and see us to our next opportunity to help somebody and to be a light in the dark. You got any closing words, Brian? Zombie?
I just appreciate the good time we've had tonight. A lot of good people have been on here. It's been a great time. Like you said, please continue to pray for John and his situation. I know most of y'all are already on my channel, but I really appreciate it. If anybody that ain't, come check my channel out. Just try to keep us supported. You know, keep this movement going. We're trying to do something that's a little bit different, but it's actually a whole lot of different than what's been going on YouTube over the last few years. So just stay with us.
Yep, I couldn't have said it better. I thank you guys, and I guess that's it. Thanks for joining, and if you hadn't already thumbs up this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Give you a second to do that, and thanks so much. Share the video once it goes to the video status on my channel, and like, share, subscribe. Join us on Patreon. Both of us were there. Go support John at Alpha Charlie Concepts, and thanks so much. We'll see you guys on the next go round.